Inadequacy, shame, and fear. These are three emotions that can paralyze anybody from taking a step forward. And that's exactly what happened to me about 5 years ago, right before the Chinese New Year Eve. I wanted to make an announcement, and I'm going to make it now, that I have type 2 bipolar and depression. I specifically made sure that I said type 2 bipolar first because that was always the piece of me that I wanted to hide behind. Depression is much more accepted now these days, but when you hear the words bipolar, you don't really know the difference between one and two. You might start thinking that someone is manic, that they drive 150 miles per hour, and they're out of control and they're hospitalized. And while that might be parts of bipolar, fortunately for me, that's considered bipolar 1, and I'm bipolar 2. Without getting into further details about it, essentially what it means is, yes, there are times when I feel really high, but never to the extent that I believe the aliens are after me or that I am suddenly capable of being a ninja and robbing a bank. And I don't mean to make fun of the situation, but I have friends who are bipolar 1 and they end up being hospitalized because their times are really, really difficult. Type 2 bipolar, which I am, is not as high, but unfortunately, the depressions are extremely low. If you fall into one of those depressions, it could take months to come out of, even with taking medication and all the proper care. There it is. I said it. For New Year's, congratulations. I have type 2 bipolar and I have depression. And I want to make sure that I am clear. I say that I have, not that I suffer from. Because as much as I have suffered from it by all definitions of the world, I have also been benefited and I've been blessed with it. I remember reading articles about a college with all deaf football players, and they didn't look at their deafness as a curse, but as a blessing, because it allowed and enabled them to be able to really understand the world. And even in regards of blindness, since I mentioned it too, you have their Daredevil, the Marvel character, or even one character in the Kublai Khan show, Marco Polo, A Thousand Eyes, who was grateful that he lost his vision because he truly understood. Yes, in many ways, I've lost my ability to live a more quote-unquote normal life because of my illnesses or because of my gifts or diagnoses. But it's enabled me to live the life in which I have. Those closest to me want to protect me, of course, as you want to protect your loved ones. And for that reason, they were afraid that I would have repercussions and experience more negative backlash for coming out today and telling you all this. After all, who wants to reveal their weakness to even their close ones or the entire world, especially now in the social media industry? People can always come back and dig the weakness behind you, and it could be a dangerous flaw. We see a lot about this in media and movies, for instance, where the diagnosis of depression or bipolar is always more seen in a more dangerous or vulnerable light. I remember watching Homeland, where the main character had to hide her bipolar situation, otherwise she could not work as an agent. And I don't know the full details of everything, but certainly it's something that is more of a precaution. I'm tired, and as far as I know, other people could be tired of making sure that your mental illness is something that is the last thing you tell someone. I'm tired of waiting to tell someone that I have my illnesses, my diagnoses, who I am. I'm tired of hiding in some way behind it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. What do people know about you? And what do people know about me? Most of our times when we do elevator pitches for jobs, or we put on our LinkedIn profiles, or just when we go to the bar, we want to talk up ourselves. We want to make sure that people have a good impression of yourselves, of you. Sure, I've done that. I'm a 7-continent traveler. I've been to 121 countries. I'm a national award-winning professor of public speaking. And especially as an Asian American, that's even more rare especially when stereotypes are that we are much more timid, submissive, and we don't speak up. We lack eloquence. We lack charisma. We are simply a person who works hard, but doesn't know how to be upper management level because we lack the soft skills and the communication ability of those of our peers who may not be Asian. That's a stereotype, or at least has been, despite any changes that might have been coming more recently. Imagine, for the first meeting you have, you just announce to someone that you have cancer. They might think that the correct answer is to say, "I'm sorry, I hope you're doing okay." And that might elicit a sense of pity or some emotion that is certainly not most favorable, but there's an understanding and a sympathy behind it. If I was to go to a bar or if I were to go to a meeting, and the first thing I tell them is that I have type 2 bipolar, they wouldn't know what type 2 bipolar is. They would just hear the word bipolar, and to tell them I have depression. I'm sure that would already be a red flag to get a job or to be considered from a potential father and mother-in-law to be able to have a partner for life of my choice. I'm not here to argue that this is or is not the way it should be. I'm just trying to state that this is the way that has been and perhaps always will be, for better or worse. And I'm here today to offer hope for myself, for my future, and perhaps anyone else who might be able to understand what I'm going through, either personally or through some other loved one. The feeling of inadequacy is one that carries with you, I would say, for the rest of your life. One of the main reasons that I have been held back from just being more open about my depression is a similar feeling that all of you might have in general. We're not good enough. We need to accomplish more. We need to do more. We have to have more to our name so that people will listen to us. Nobody wants to be a failure. Nobody wants to be seen as something less than what they should be or believe that they were once before. The greatest fear that a lot of people that I've spoken to with depression or bipolar or any mental illness is the fact that life's not going to get better and it's only going to get worse because of the condition that they have. And I fully understand this fear. At age 19, I dropped out of college. And there was a time when I wanted to be more open and tell people about my condition, about my situation. But why would I reveal a weakness to other people? Specifically, if I wanted to speak about it, how could my words make any positive impact to other people? I'm a college dropout. I have this mental illness. This is what the future is forecasted for other people to be. It's not a positive one. You're unemployed. You have no education. You have no love life. You have absolutely nothing that could promote or cast any type of, not necessarily jealousy or envy, but any type of positive hope for other people. I experienced this personally when I went to my first support group. And I'm not saying that these people were complaining, but they certainly were telling parts of their lives that I was afraid for my future. Being hospitalized, continually being unemployed, having broken relationships, simply not knowing what to do, and at a complete loss. And as a 19-year-old, seeing people like this at 25, 30, 35, 40, struggling and being beaten by these diseases was certainly a scary thought. I did not have anyone to look up to that was in a position where they succeeded. They did something admirable despite their conditions. What I realized is that this feeling of inadequacy follows you no matter what, because winning or success is temporary in the eyes of other people. Once I earned my degree, college degree, I thought maybe I can talk to other high school students, other college students who have been in the same conditions as I have been. Maybe I can offer hope to them that no matter what they go through, they can graduate college. But still, maybe that's not good enough. Who would want to listen to me, a person who only graduated? And so I got my master's degree, and I thought, maybe this time I'm good enough to be able to have some words that people will want to say. especially for those who graduate from college and might be struggling with post-college life, not knowing what to do with their lives, or still feeling inadequate, but still not good enough. And then fast forward, I have been teaching professionally successfully for over a decade in public speaking, and I've been able to manage solo travel around the world as a backpacker to all these countries. Certainly, traits that I have been told are admirable. Ones where I've been able to impact people from taking their greatest fear to becoming their greatest blessing, to be able to use that ability in public speaking to have belief in themselves throughout life and to have the ability to create more meaningful relationships with their loved ones. And to be able to travel the world, to expand my mind and experience once in a lifetime experiences over and over again in different continents. And that's all people know about me, that I'm a 7-continent traveler and public speaking professor, because that is what goes in the About section of LinkedIn, or a dating profile, or a flyer. I would not have been able to achieve these two parts of my profile, parts of me, if it wasn't for the depression and bipolar. And so why hide it? It's time to be free, and it's time to be open from it. Behind me is the notes that I wrote down that I wanted to cover. And I don't know exactly if I covered all of it, so I'm going to take a look in the moment and share that with you. I've been speaking for 11 minutes right now. This is much shorter than a Seinfeld sitcom, and just a few songs if you're dancing at a club. So I suppose 5 years ago, I was talked out of this announcement because in some ways, I didn't want to be alone, and I needed guidance from those around me, and perhaps not just guidance, but their approval. Am I doing the right thing? And ultimately, I was talked out of it. And no, I don't regret it, because these people do love me, and they still have their best interest in me. But sometimes, what you think is best is seen differently, and there had been those who told me that I was only doing this as a selfish cry for attention, and that I wasn't really helping other people, or trying to, but simply because I was about me, and I wanted people to either give me sympathy or to say something. That was never the case, but either way, it was interpreted that way. And so yes, I did have the fear of the repercussions, because in the end, you need people. And why would someone hire somebody who's a liability as opposed to someone who is perfectly mentally healthy with a clean bill of health? We tend to want to conceal our weaknesses as opposed to expose them. Yet here I am, because I'm here to say that mental illness is not a weakness. Mental illness is just what it is, and it is what you're able to make out of it. The feeling that you're not there yet is always going to come. As an Asian American, you want to go to the best school. Your parents told you that. You want to go to medical school. You want to go to the best one. You want to be top in your class, and you want to be a doctor. And at that point, they have all the pride in the world to say that they raised a doctor as their child. But what about afterwards? What if you have an unsuccessful business? What if you're unsuccessful as a doctor? What if you get disbarred and lose your license for whatever reason? What will they say then? It never ends. At some point, you might need a better job, a better pay, and then your self-confidence is gone again. So I'm here today because no matter where you are in your career or where you think you are in your life, you are good enough to share your experiences, and there's no reason why you have to feel that you need to achieve more to be heard. Let those people decide for themselves whether you are worthy of being heard by them. But don't have that make you feel that you're not worthy enough to speak about it. Yes, most broadcasters in sports, after they play their careers, have won championships or have been really good at the sport. And that's why people listen to them, because they've won Super Bowls, they've won championships. And while that is always going to be part of the ethos and the credibility that we need to speak upon it. That does not mitigate the experiences you have, for better or worse. Currently, I'm telling you all this, and I am not a doctor of psychiatry. I am not a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and certainly I'm not even a millionaire, and there are a lot more of it today than ever before. But I am John D. Lynn, for better or worse, and minus my 7-continent traveling or my national award-winning public speaking professor, I'm still just who I am, John D. Lynn. You will always still never be good enough if you go down that route of inadequacy. So why am I deciding to talk about this now? Because for a long time, I haven't felt inadequate. And of course, there are times when you always feel like you do because you always want to achieve more in your life. And you always want to boost your career higher, or you want the next new experience. More importantly, for a long time now, I have not felt any shame. Oftentimes, there's a stigma attached to your mental illness, and there's a shame that can just burn a hole in your chest, into your heart, throughout the other side. There is no shame that I feel anymore. But there is still a sense of fear, because you never know what's going to happen once you say this and you put it out in public. I've had experiences, of course, where I've lost relationships, I've lost friends, perhaps even job opportunities that I may never have known about because they realized we don't want to hire him. We don't want to give him a chance. But it's come to my intersection point of my life that I realize I will never know what will happen if I never come out and say this. And that is an unknown that I don't want to live without, that I don't want to live with. I say I'm in a good place because I've had students, younger folks, and even older folks tell me that what I've been able to achieve, or the life I've been able to live, in spite of my mental illness or condition, has been an inspiration to them. And while right now I don't plan to inspire nor take in pity, I simply want to tell the truth and not hide behind my accomplishments or not hide behind a smile, to stop saying white lies. I'm tired of never saying this or having this be the last thing I say to other people. Perhaps it can be the first and only element that people know about me. And I would be okay with that because it's in my own words. I am John D. Lynn. I have type 2 bipolar. I have major depressive disorder. I've been diagnosed since the age of 19, and I've had it my whole life since. There, I said it. It's a brand new year now. What I hope to do is continue to share my thoughts in writing, in audio, and in video to make sure that my life gets better, your life gets better, and we live in a better place where we are less stigmatized for whatever we struggle with, and people become more understanding. This is my podcast. 2023, January 21st, 1:19 a.m. 18 minutes and 41 seconds, still less than many elements that you consume. And here we are. Next time, I will make sure that we have a better background and I will be in better attire. And please don't mind the haircut. My mother did her best to cut it for me, and so I love it. This is it. For better or worse, I did not type this up. It will take too much time. No words will ever be perfect. But I wanted my message to come out to you.